Hi everyone, and Kate here with a bit of an unusual Victober video. I wanted to do a video today dedicated to two of my absolute favorite things, and that is Victorian novels and Korean dramas, or K-dramas as people call it. Now Kate, you may ask, how on earth would you think these two things have things in common? But just let me unpack it, sit back, and trust that I will lead you there. First of all, I want to give a big thank you, in case she is watching, to Mel from Mel's Bookland Adventures. And she's Books, Food, and Adventure on Instagram, where she is currently active. If she had not talked about K-dramas so much, I would not have tried them. For some reason, I just was not interested. I couldn't tell you why. I just thought it was something I wouldn't enjoy. And was I ever wrong? I started, I think, in February, I started watching, and I have 8 K-dramas that I've watched. They're typically around 16 episodes, and I have just fallen in love, and I have a huge list that I want to get through, and there's a fair amount of variety within the ones that I have watched, so I think there's something there for everyone, and some that I haven't even branched out into, certain kinds. But I think that if you just let me unpack my reasoning, then maybe you'll see the links. So firstly, I want to say that there are 4 themes that kind of popped out to me when I was thinking about what they have in common, or I guess 5, and one is Victorian culture and Korean culture are both honor cultures. So showing honor to those who are higher up than you in society, or showing honor to your elders. They're also really steeped with reputation being such a big deal, and having respectability. Having anything tarnish your reputation can ruin your life. From how they're portrayed in Korean dramas, and then we know from Victorian novels, it's such a big deal to have a fallen woman or just have a tarnished reputation. Is a really big deal. In addition to that, tradition, and tradition for tradition's sake, comes through really strongly in K-dramas, and then in many, many Victorian novels. Also, class. Class is a really big deal. If you have someone that is a shopkeeper, it's going to not bode as well with a family if they want to pursue the daughter of a white-collar businessman. He's considered, the shop owners considered lower class, and all sorts of things that go into this sort of idea of class. And then lastly, respect for elders. You really are you see in Victorian novels what a big deal it is when there's a young person who sort of breaks with the decisions that their parents want them to make. And it is a huge deal in K-dramas, almost more exaggerated than it is in Victorian novels. So I have what I think are relative Victorian novels to the 8 K-dramas that I have watched, and I hope if this makes one person try K-drama and love it, it will make me so happy. It's just such a passion of mine now. And an added bonus, if you start watching K-dramas, then you have tons of great soundtrack music to love. And it's really fun, if the boys are up and I'm not going to be watching K-dramas while they're around, 1, because it's distracting, and 2, just because I don't like to do that. I can have on K-drama music and just think about the fun shows that I've been watching. So the first one I want to talk about is Cinderella and the 4 Knights. This was the first episode I ever watched of a K-drama, was the first episode of Cinderella and the 4 Knights. And it got to the end with a cliffhanger ending and catchy K-pop music. And I thought, what is this? I'm sold. I'm here. I need to keep watching. I must keep watching. I'm so compelled. And it was just, so I started watching it for my Cinderella retelling project. It does start off as a Cinderella retelling, but then it's totally its own thing. But I want to say the author that I think it could be kind of parallel to is Anthony Trollope, because Ha-won, who is the lead, she's the Cinderella character in this, is such a strong female lead. And I think Anthony Trollope is so wonderful at doing that. And there is just so much to do. he kind of has a lot of politics within societal structures. And I don't mean like elected politicians. I mean the mechanisms of the people groups and, sociological elements as well. And I think there's a lot of that in Cinderella and the Four Knights. All of these different pegs of society and seeing who fits in just how. And there is some humor. Now, it is going to be very different than the like wry, very dry, sardonic British humor. It is very over the top and silly. So the humor of Anthony Trollope is a bit different, but there's a lot of humor in Cinderella and the Four Knights. The next K-drama that I want to recommend that I loved is Crash Landing on You. And I think this has some parallels with Elizabeth Gaskell's Mary Barton, because it is this couple who has the odds going all against them in Mary Barton. And it's this very epic, big story, and you want to find out what's going to happen next and if they're going to end up together. And in Crash Landing on You, it is about a South Korean woman who is paragliding or hang gliding. Anyhow, and she crashes into North Korea, and a handsome North Korean officer happens upon her, and it is their story of him trying to get her back safely to South Korea, and they may or may not fall in love in the meanwhile. And just because it's this love story on such a big scale, it made me think of Mary Barton. And next is two K-dramas that, because they're a bit of slice of life dramas, and they have a really goofy sense of humor, which I was thinking there is actually, I would argue, a Victorian author with a goofy sense of humor, and that is Dickens, because some of the caricatured characters that he has in his books are so ridiculous. The aunt that is bequeathed to someone in a will who's always eating toast crust in Little Dorrit, or there is the really foppish dance instructor in Bleak House who, whenever he meets a beautiful woman, says, "Beautiful woman," and he's just so odd. So many slapstick stuff in the Pickwick Papers and in Nicholas Nickleby. Some of the characters that I'm thinking about are just so over the top. Betsy Trotwood with the donkeys and David Copperfield. He has a lot of like really campy humor in his books, and I would say the humor in K-dramas is fairly campy. And so What's Wrong with Secretary Kim is a bit of a slice of life because it does have some really silly things in it. This woman, Secretary Kim, is going to leave her job, and her boss, who has relied on her for about a decade, I think, all of a sudden realizes, oh no, she's going to leave. I've been relying on her. And then as a way to kind of get her not to leave, he proposes to her. But then sort of while he's trying to convince her, he realizes how much he really cares for her. There's also a lot of storylines to do with his family and her family, and some really traumatic things that have happened from the past, which you'll see childhood trauma in K-dramas is a theme. But I think because it is a bit of everything, that's to me what a Dickens novel feels like. It's a really nice element about his novels. And then Romance is a Bonus Book, which is maybe my favorite K-drama, is about a woman who's having a really terrible time. Her husband has left her. She's been evicted from her home, and she ends up meeting up with her old friend who they've known each other since they were kids. And again, a bit of a slice of life because you see their friendship, but then you also see she ends up working at the same company that he's working at, and you get to know all the coworkers from there. And you come to really care about all of these characters, and you also see their personal lives. But then there's a lot about book publishing, which is really fun for a book lover. A lot of book love in there, and a mystery from someone's past. Feels like a Dickens novel to me. Okay, the next one is Touch Your Heart, and I think this might be tied with Romance is a Bonus Book for my favorite K-drama. Touch Your Heart is about this actress who is kind of has a reputation for being a mediocre actress, and then a scandal tarnished her reputation. So she has been hiding out, and then she finds out accidentally from receiving this script that she thought was for her, was not for her, but it's a law drama, crime drama, and she really wants to be in it. And the director says, all right, I don't think you're that good at acting, but if you will spend 3 months working in a law firm, then I will let you have the part, because I feel like maybe you observing that would help you, help your acting skills. So she does do that, and she ends up working with a very Mr. Darcy type character. He seems very standoffish and arrogant and cold at first. And then she slowly gets to know him better. And I think this has some parallels with Wilkie Collins. Wilkie Collins, if he had a sense of humor, this one doesn't have quite as silly of humor as in What's Wrong with Secretary Kim or Romance is a Bonus Book. But since it is a K-drama, there's definitely some humor in there. And because Wilkie Collins, you know, and I neglected to mention in Touch Your Heart, what I loved also about it is it has some really interesting cases that, since he is a lawyer, you get to see him defend those cases and unravel some mysteries. And Wilkie Collins has, a lot of his books are people falling in love while there are mysteries. And so it seemed to me like a good parallel. So yes, if he had more humor in his novels, I think that would be it. And then I want to talk about Weightlifting Fairy. This is super like the fluffiest of the fluff. And it was just a delight to watch. I watched with my husband, and it is about an athletic college. And so the main girl, who is Kim Bak-ju, is a weightlifter, and how she sort of meets and forms this relationship with a swimmer. And then you also know a couple of the gymnasts, and it's really just so much fun getting to see them all hanging out together, all of the friends getting into scrapes, having adventures together. And I could not help but think of Three Men in a Boat, which to me is one of the fluffiest and most delightful Victorian novels to read. It's just really, really easy on your mind, easy to focus on, and just delight from start to finish. So I think people who enjoy the kind of goofy adventures of friends in Three Men in a Boat could also enjoy Weightlifting Fairy. And the next two, Something in the Rain and One Spring Night, and I will put the director's name down below because their name escapes me at this moment in time. But I think people who love Thomas Hardy will like Something in the Rain and One Spring Night. Something in the Rain was the first one by this director I saw, and it is a Nuna romance. So Nuna is the Korean word for like big sister, and so in Korean you will refer to friends of, you know, the opposite gender as big sister or big brother, or even the same gender, just depending on what they are. And it's apparently still very, very scandalous in Korea for there to be a romance that happens between a younger man and an older woman. And this to me just seems so like something that would happen, a tragic romance that happens in Thomas Hardy, or his romances aren't always tragic, but the emotional force that is in Thomas Hardy's novel really reminded me of the emotional force that was in Something in the Rain and One Spring Night. I was all in for this couple and Something in the Rain. It just pulled me in. It was also a lot more low key and subdued than the other K-dramas I had seen, and that felt really refreshing. Just kind of calm, but also intense. Just this really special, unique quality to it. And then One Spring Night, which is also intense, but maybe a little bit less so, is about a couple, and the male lead, who's played by the same actor, who I loved in Something in the Rain, is a single father, and that's a very, very stigmatized thing in Korea still. So it's kind of their love trying to overcome all of the odds. And to me, just like I said, the emotional force that is in those feels very much akin to Thomas Hardy's novels. So I hope I communicated my reasoning well for what I think are the links between Victorian novels and K-drama. It's been a wonderful adventure, and especially during such a crazy year that 2020 has been, to delve into K-dramas. And right now I am watching Goblin. It's commonly referred to as Goblin, but it's also like Guardian of the Lonely and Great God, something like that. And I am loving it. It, to me, is almost at times as lighthearted as Sabrina the Teenage Witch, and I wasn't expecting that, but it's also got some really cool, intense parts. The soundtrack is very good. To me, this is kind of like if Charlotte Bronte wrote a K-drama. This would kind of be a little bit too much humor for her, but a lot of the other elements. So if she was a modern day Korean, drama screenwriter, I think maybe that's the kind of one that she would do. And then I also just started Was It Love? And that one's very fun and lighthearted. I didn't keep watching though because not all the episodes are out yet, so I wanted to wait until they're all out. so I'm not like stranded without more episodes. But they're almost all out, so I think I could start watching again. And that one is a little bit like the romantic comedy Definitely Maybe, where this woman ends up running into 3 men that she knew from her past, and chaos ensues because of it. But very fun, very funny, very heartfelt, kind of the things that I really loved about romance as a bonus book. I see those qualities in Was It Love? Let me know if you're going to try a K-drama and which ones you're planning on trying, or if you do watch, what are your favorite K-dramas, and I will add them to my watch list. Thank you for watching, and I will be back for another Victober video soon. Bye.